Hello, faithful viewer. Welcome once again. This is episode 6, Doctor Who, series 4. My name's David Tennant. That's me looking at a hand. And to my left...
I am Russell T. Davies, being allowed onto the podcast for the first time this year. I don't know, I've been locked in a cage. And on my side there is...
Yeah, what do you do, Russell T.
Oh,
Davies?
I'm sorry, I'm the executive producer.
Just, don't assume your celebrity...
Presuming the nation is awaiting.
You.
I forget, what am I doing today? Executive producer of this episode. And on my left...
is Alice Troughton, the director of this episode and podcast virgin.
Podcast virgin.
Troughton, no relation. Let's get that out.
No relation.
Yes.
We only gave you the job thinking you were part of the family. And
sadly disappointed.
Let us down. Where are you now?
We're in a disused railway tunnel. Which I think is actually used as a shooting range, isn't it?
This appeared on Torchwood, actually.
And it has been on Torchwood as a shooting range.
Episode 2, Series 1 as a shooting range. It's a brilliant tunnel, isn't it?
But it really is a shooting range. And the guys who own it, look after it, were there all day.
Shooting range for what? Just people who want to shoot?
People who want to shoot guns.
Wow.
Yeah, you genuinely go there and you shoot guns. And at the far end of the corridor, there's a little office with pictures of all the beasts they've shot around the world.
Oh, my God.
And
Shocking.
they were very keen to show off to everyone. This is where I shot a caribou. This is where I slaughtered an oxen. It was
bizarre.
It's a particular...
I'm not dying to go
subculture,
there
isn't it?
on the Doctor Who tour, I have to say.
A great location, though.
Here we go, never mind all that.
Well, yeah.
Hooray!
Talking of no relation.
Georgia.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Look who it is.
Georgia Moffat. As... Well, the Doctor's daughter. It's a podcast. We can say
Yeah,
who she is.
they know that already, don't they?
I was trying to build the suspense
Well,
there.
we're just, we're naturally going for the dramatic moment, aren't we?
What a great entrance as well. Alice, beautifully shot. You're marvellous.
But the best line coming up, of course.
Big line.
Da-da-da.
Ta-da.
Fantastic
Now,
close
look,
up.
I've got to say, once and forever, we did not cast Georgia Moffat because she's Peter Davison's daughter.
Well, it is a PR coup, isn't it?
It's irresistible, but I absolutely swear to God, it's like we auditioned Georgia for The Unicorn and the Wasp, which is next week's episode.
All right.
For the part of Rabina Redmond, but we knew we had this script coming up. And literally, we were dreading it. We were, months before, we were thinking, "Oh, the hell did you cast as Jenny? This is really tough," and we had no idea. Georgia came in for that audition, and we all just went, "Well, that's her. That's her." And the episodes were actually shot many months apart, so we're in a really weird situation of saying to her, "Can you wait many months? And we promise you there's a great part coming up." Which is hard for a young actor. She's got other jobs and other offers, and she didn't keep herself free for this. We sent her the very first draft script, and she loved it. Of course, she could see what a great part that was, and kept herself free. But literally, because she was so talented, who else would you cast as that?
Yeah.
She's perfect.
She is terrific in this, yeah. I thought it was Phil who'd first come across Georgia on one of his jollies to Monte Carlo.
Oh, he says that.
He's been claiming it was all his.
Apparently he wrote it and he is actually playing the Doctor in this scene. How can I just say, Phil who?
Oh.
Yeah, Phil Collinson, who produced this episode, who is now no longer part of our team.
Sadly missed.
Sadly, it's been one big party ever since, frankly.
But he went off on a jolly. Doctor Who, I say a jolly, it was work. It was all pure work. But Doctor Who got nominated for, what was it, the Monte Carlo something or other?
He went with Freema, didn't he? Yes.
And Freema and Phil went off to some Monte Carlo television festival. And Georgia was there because she was in another show with her father, Peter Davison, Who fans, which had also been nominated for something else. So they all jollied around Monte Carlo for a couple of days.
In fairness, that probably reminded us of Georgia to then audition her for the Unicorn. Because actually, Georgia had auditioned for Rose.
No,
yes, she had. Yes, she had.
Didn't you know that?
There was quite a lot of coverage on it, wasn't there?
Way back at the very beginning, and she was wonderful. It was literally one of those auditions you thought, she's excellent, and...
She can only have been 14 years old,
Well, I know, no, literally, we thought, give her a couple of years, and she'll be fantastic.
Right.
And then little knowing that only 3 years have passed, and she's reached out all her potential, actually. She's very rapidly become very brilliant. She was lovely to begin with, but...
She's terrific in this. She went straight on from this to be one of the leads in, I'm going to forget the name of it.
Code 9.
Spooks Code 9.
Yep.
Which is starting soon. And I got a message from her yesterday saying they'd just done a press day.
Oh, God, already.
And all that she got asked about was this.
Welcome to the rest of your life.
Which I don't think bothered her at all, but I'm sure Spooks 0.9.6 were a bit annoyed.
Here's poor Freema suffering. This episode does make me laugh for Martha, because the whole point is she just suffers and suffers and suffers.
She does suffer in this, doesn't she?
And would rather be back home.
Than be there at all on a new planet.
It shows what a terrible life you have.
And a lot of scenes with people who can't answer back as well.
Yes.
Now, Russell, this is my question.
Yes.
I know this isn't an episode which, strictly speaking, you wrote.
No.
But you do have responsibility for them all, so you're going to answer this.
I'm to blame. Yes.
Why does the TARDIS translation circuit not translate what the Hath say?
But you see, I think it does slightly, because Martha does begin to understand what they say. I think it can't literally translate bubbles because there's no sound waves.
But is it a language? Because they communicate with each other.
Oh, yeah. Oh, the bubbles are a proper language.
Right.
But actually, Martha does. By the time they go onto the surface of the planet,
Sure.
she is talking to them and even understanding when they swear.
So why are we not hearing that, then?
Because it's more fun. Literally, because I want every child. Because I did. This is Stephen's script, but I did invent the bubbling, actually. And it's like, you want every child in school on Monday morning blowing into their cartons.
Blowing into the Kiora.
Things I can't name.
Other fruit juice drinks are available.
Drinks, yeah.
Umbongo, let's say that as well. Because I just thought, what a laugh. Not such a laugh for Alice, who has to be stuck in a tunnel.
Oh, I don't know. We had quite a laugh over it.
This must have been a horrible location. Come on. Look at it.
Do you know it wasn't? It wasn't a horrible location. It looks grim and murky.
Ah.
It was quite nice.
Don't know where he was, but it was fairly horrible where we were.
Compared to
He
some
was
of the...
fanned by punka wallers.
We were sitting in the middle of rat's urine.
Compared to some of the locations we've been in,
Yes.
Yes, I suppose that's all
it really
comparative.
wasn't that
Cardiff
bad.
alleyways.
It wasn't as cold as it looks.
It wasn't cold.
Which is unusual for us as well.
It wasn't as bad
'Cause we
as
were here.
Mamelad, was it?
This was the last location on this block, wasn't it? That big tunnel?
It was late. Yes, we wrapped
Yeah.
there. We did.
So it was very early January, because this episode straddled Christmas.
It did straddle Christmas.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes. Must have been hard coming back after a Christmas baked.
It was quite bizarre. Well, I suppose
Yeah.
we were rejuvenated to a certain extent, but yeah, it felt very short. It was a week, and then suddenly it was all over.
Couldn't wait to get back to work.
Yeah.
These tunnels are beautiful. I love
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
They were somewhere else
This
entirely. I
is
can't remember where this was.
the mining village,
And wasn't
the
it that we-
heritage centre.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Was it that we couldn't
These were really cold.
film in these tunnels before Christmas because they became Santa's grotto?
they became Santa's grotto.
Did they really?
did, yes.
What a grotto, eh?
They were
Yeah.
covered in tinsel.
That's a subterranean Cardiff centre.
No, we were definitely in those tunnels before Christmas.
Yeah, we were in the heritage tunnels before
Yeah.
Christmas, and then the
Oh.
Barry shooting range after. It's a seamless segue of locations there.
Well, Santa featured somewhere. I'll
Yeah.
just
No,
say.
Santa was in the heritage tunnels.
Right.
Tinsel and mining equipment.
And this is an old theatre, isn't it?
This
Which
is amazing.
well, it's
This was
fairly
on
obviously an old
restoration, the
theatre, I
Griff
suppose.
Rhys-Jones programme, and just narrowly lost the prize to be restored.
To the Victoria Baths, near where I live in Manchester.
Yeah, well, and then to their eternal regret, because it's an amazing location.
Well,
I think.
those baths are never open, let me tell you that.
No.
Are they still being restored?
Exactly. I go along and move a brick every so often. And,
Oh, well, thank goodness they didn't restore this, because it gave us a fairly perfect location.
Yeah. They were hard locations. More tougher location finds than anything else, just deciding the nature of the city,
It
wasn't
was,
it?
and I think Ed Thomas was having to try and get the kind of overall view of the design, the
And
hat
actually,
camp.
for once, and this is quite a healthy way to work, there was a lot of location finding, and then we put that back into the script.
Yeah.
All the stuff about why is it a theatre, blah, 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 came afterwards.
Yeah.
That went into the final draft once the locations had been found.
Yeah,
So
because your word for this was subterranean, wasn't it? And then we
was.
sort of worked from there onwards.
that was
so
the tone word.
the tone word.
Subterranean.
And this is City Hall, of course, which has the
yes.
same sort of epic.
This is where you had a
scale.
riot going on.
We had a riot. Bless them. They were closing lots of local
I heard about this, yeah.
local
Of course you were
primary
there.
schools, and they did a brilliant demonstration. It was just very sad that we were there at the same time trying to film and to Phil's eternal
Phil's version
frustration.
of that is a lot less kind than yours.
Well, bless them. The primary school shouldn't be closed down, but
He phoned me up from location
but
with
it was
crowds protesting in the background. He's going, listen to
4
this!
hours.
And he was saying they're so keen
How
on
much filming time did you lose
We
then?
lost
lot.
4 hours.
Oh, yeah.
It was seat of the pants stuff.
He was saying if they're so keen on education, why can't they spell their banners properly? Please don't make me cut that from the podcast. Please don't make me. I refuse.
Are you sure it wasn't just in Welsh?
That's true. He wouldn't know. He never picked it up. 4 years.
Bless him. It was a night, long dark night of the soul for
Yeah.
Phil that night. We were there till about 2 a.m.
We keep talking. I don't think we've quite explained who we're talking about. This is Phil Collinson.
Yes,
Oh,
I'm
The
yeah.
sorry.
producer of Doctor Who.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Just in case you're new to all these podcast world, a faithful listener, he was the producer of Doctor Who for all 4 series, but has now moved on to head up a drama department in Manchester.
Huge head of drama, head
yeah.
of all kinds of drama, head man.
So we're currently filming the Doctor Who Christmas Special 2008.
We are.
Which is the first episode that Phil Collinson has not been involved in, which is terribly sad. We miss him very
and
much.
It's going swimmingly.
But it's going brilliant. It's much. I don't know what we needed him for, to be honest.
Twice as fast.
To be honest, it's...
twice as epic.
It's smooth. It's without conflict.
I wonder, will he listen to Doctor Who podcast now? He will.
We will.
I like to think he will. I'm going to talk about Stephen Greenhorn now, who is the most marvellous writer in the world. And this was literally the hardest brief we've ever given a writer, and it was a nightmare for him to... It was like chiselling the script. It was like a block of marble and chiselling the script out of it, because there's so many stories in it. There's like the Doctor and Jenny, which is obviously the biggest story, but at the same time there's this war going on, which is actually a very complicated war with a trick that's all going on for 7 days, and then there's the Hath, and then there's a story for Martha, and the heart, and every draft it would come in, and we'd love what he'd done, and then we'd say, but we need something new. Donna was the last thing to fit into place, actually, because every draft, poor Stephen, I was just saying, story for Donna, story. We can't.
Oh,
have Donna
I remember that. Yeah,
yeah. We can't have Catherine Tate just walking through and asking questions, and actually. And finally, she becomes, I think it's one of her strongest episodes, Donna. She's like the Doctor's conscience, isn't she? She's like, she asks all that stuff that the Doctor wouldn't vocalise otherwise. And
yes, she becomes the Doctor's emotional conscience and actually works out the whole thing as well.
Yeah.
Yes, she does. Yes, with the numbers are one of the last things to be added as well. I wish we'd made it 20 numbers instead of 10, because it sort of looks like a date to me, but never mind. That only occurred to me.
Oh, no, I don't think it does.
I don't think so.
You're good.
I don't
I
think
hope
you
not.
only think that retrospectively. I may be saying this to
I think when he says it's a
a
catalogue
nation of
system.
listeners who've just watched the episode on TV going, well, it's obviously
Well, it's
a date.
obviously the date.
But I don't think so.
Good, I hope so. I think if it had been 20 numbers, it would have been slightly even less guessable, but I'll stop complaining. But that's because of how last minute that I was putting it in. It was the very last element.
It's very... I don't think I've ever done a commentary with you before, Russell, and we've done a few now, where it's not an episode you've written.
They won't allow me normally, because I normally just sit there tutting. I think it's outrageous. I should have my name over everything. My name should just be permanently Aston at the bottom, like this. Russell T Davies is Doctor Who. I'm pitching for that. It is, and I can sit here pretending I have all sorts of insights into the production process, but actually I haven't got a clue what goes on.
Oh.
Alice, you sweat and suffer with all this, and it's like...
Yes.
How much of a brief did you give to Stephen Greenhorn? How much of this idea was...
It was the Doctor's
came from you?
daughter, and
Right.
it was... We always knew that it wouldn't be like a real daughter, like you weren't going to meet the family or anything, that it would be a biologically, artificially created daughter. And a
We're saving
world...
that for the special episode 13 scene,
yes.
aren't we?
The Who's at home. And it was a subterranean war and the Hath. And I did actually come up, after his first draft, I've got to say this, but I did actually come up with the idea that the war had been going on for 7 days. I loved that. I'm very proud of that. Because originally it was genuinely a war that had been going on for generations,
Right.
which was hard to solve. But that's just the start of a scripting process, you know? It's like, it's really all this dialogue between the Doctor and Jenny and also having Martha on board. That was one of the conditions as well, that she'd have a terrible time and be glad to go back home. But, giving that brief is like, you try it, sit at home, take all those conditions and all those priorities and make a story out of it.
When you say she's not the biological daughter, you mean
Well-
that we were not going to go back into his history and find
Yeah, we're not
suddenly
going to
that
meet
there's-
Mrs. Who and say, here's the kids.
Of course.
It's not normal family. sort
Although
of
that's what, people are thinking, how are they going to do it at the moment before it's gone out now?
yes, with the title being
With the
released.
title being a doctor's daughter.
I think though
there's
she's more the Doctor's actual daughter than people are. A lot of
But
people
this
are
is what I want.
expecting.
How
Oh,
much
yeah.
do you think she is the
I think
doctor's
people
daughter?
are expecting she'll be some android that,
Yes.
that
Yeah.
the reconstituted master has made out of ball bearings or something. I think.
Or the hand, I think, is the rumour at the moment. That
Oh, is it?
Yeah, the rumour is
Oh,
currently
the Doctor's
that
hand
the
to become
doctor's
his daughter
hand,
with a manly
that
hand.
the aliens have stolen his DNA and created from his hand. So,
Alice, have you been online?
I'm afraid
What have I told
have
you?
been reading the
Troughton.
forums.
Stop it.
Well, since you released the title at the press conference, I had to go and look and see what people were
Don't
saying about
go
it.
online. Once this has been transmitted, you'll be torn apart.
No,
lady.
I always do. It's interesting because, it's kind of, where it hits people. And I think that there's a huge excitement being generated by the title, as you knew it would, which is why
That's
I
why
think we kept
released
it back.
Yes, and we released it in the Radio Times.
But obviously one of the rumours is, it is aliens have captured his DNA and created
Like it's a big plan to track him or something.
Exactly.
Do
So
you know if we thought of that?
Yeah, that's a brilliant idea. Let's
I didn't
reshoot.
do that. I know. Come on. Let's dub it now. Let's dub it while we're actually watching it. I'll be Martha.
Yeah, I'll be
Doctor,
me.
they've got your DNA.
Martha.
You be me.
The master has reconstituted something from my DNA.
We should do this like a Flashing Blade episode. Just dub the whole thing. Go on, Alice, you be Donna. She's not saying that. I'm Martha. Doctor, they've done your DNA. They're marching to create a whole army of
your daughters.
Of your daughter clones.
Oh, no.
To march on
that's
Gallifrey.
terrible.
That sounds like a terrible idea.
Oh, I think
Tell you
that's
what,
awful.
Martha.
Yeah. What do you want me to do? Anyway, let's stop now. Behave.
I
now.
like that, though.
I know. Let's do a whole episode like that one day. No. Oh, dear. So off they go to war.
Now, we talked about this a bit on set. Do we think that Nigel Terry, that Cobb, because he's considerably older than a lot, he's a generation that survived?
One of the earlier ones.
Yeah.
I assume.
Do you think he's an original?
Unless he
Not an original.
Because of course.
Can't be the
If he'd
original
lived
one.
for a long time, he'd know that it was only 7 days. So,
Well, yes, but he doesn't say
think-
it's not.
Yes, that's true. But he talks mythologically
He
as
does.
though, he's part and parcel of the whole myth. I think he was an old bloke who got, I think sometimes it must clone you. If it's on low
Sure.
power,
Yeah.
it just produces a copy. Did you like the way I just made that up?
Yeah, that was brilliant.
If it's on setting 2, it's just a clone. So he's the 15th Cobb of this week. This is where Donna comes into her own.
Well, I suppose there must be. It must clone you to an extent because here's Jenny with 2 hearts.
Yes.
So yes, it's not. It does.
Possibly, you could argue
It
that's
is
what you'd look
influenced.
like if you were a woman.
I should be so lucky.
Let's dwell. Never go out.
Good parenting.
Moving on now. We come to a very important. Everyone.
The most, resonant, emotional moment.
Yes.
That facial expression.
And this is
David.
actually of a measure of how hard Stephen worked, and it was really hard. It's like, they get put in a prison cell so they can have scenes like that. It's very, because actually it's a quest story where they're
Yes.
on the move, and it's really hard to park people so they can have these bits of dialogue. And I think he's done it brilliantly by certain dialogue is done on the move, certain dialogue where they stop before they escape, and the soldiers have conveniently said, let's not march till morning. So that's really skillful. And you know what? Sir David Tennant, I think this is one of your finest performances here in this cell.
Yes.
I just think, don't get embarrassed. It's like, I just think it's brilliant. I think there's like, the way he puts smiles in, dark little smiles, and the edginess, and like, you explain the time here like you've never done so before, because you explain it to someone who's closer to you in a way. That smile there, that's the one. I love that. That's dark. He's embarrassed now. Actually, faithful viewer, he's writing it all down. That's terrible. And we'll have T-shirts made
I'm
out
dubbing
of
it.
You'll have it as your ringtone.
Yes, I will.
A little speech of mine. But I mean it, and we don't say it often enough. I think it's just phenomenal.
And Murray's music as well underneath it. That just kind of brings the whole moment together. I think,
That old harp plucker. Leave him out of it.
Oboe or whatever, but
But I remember between takes of that scene,
we
I was
changed
sort of,
it, didn't we?
Yeah, we changed. We tried different varieties.
We
sort of
did.
bits,
Right,
It was
more,
quite-
more bitter, more
I remember.
contemplative. And between them, I was sort of stomping around, trying to sort of, get my brain in
You did
order.
a little stomp, didn't you?
Not stomp it. I don't mean
remember
stomping in
little-
a bad way. I just mean, trying to sort of, sometimes it helps just to kind of wander off and have a bit of a think.
Yeah.
And I stormed down a little corridor that was in total darkness and walked into a metal table. And I've still got a scar on my shin to this day.
You kept that quiet.
I think that helped. I think that helped propel me into the final
expression.
take.
Oh, bless you.
That was a little smile. You're thinking, that table.
That table hurt.
Yeah, I think I may have chipped a bone, I was thinking.
But it worked. Whatever it did,
See,
it worked.
no role for a director. Just walk an actor into a table and then
Yes.
put the cameras on them. It's
Yeah.
absolutely.
What about Joe Dempsey here? Brilliant Joe
Oh,
Dempsey.
we
very
love
good.
Joe.
Who plays Chris in Skins, the late lamented
One
Chris in
of
Skins.
really only 6 speaking parts in the whole episode. Actually.
Yeah.
Telling everybody that he's never watched an episode of Doctor Who.
He never
I
said
know.
that, did
He
he?
is, yeah.
He was in the
Bless him.
He was in the Daily Mirror the
I
other
challenged
day.
him with it. He said, I didn't mean that. But the quote is going around, and he was horrified.
Well, he's young. He's got better things to do. Let's be honest.
Let's
He's
be
young.
honest. Yeah.
If he says that, he was very overexcited to be there. So I don't know.
Oh, no, I mean, everybody had told him it was just
Oh,
brilliant.
right, I see.
But and I think
what's
he's been
brilliant-
misquoted.
What's brilliant about him is, and like I was saying with the workload that Stephen had for this, give a story for everyone, that actually that soldier is a bit of a thankless role. He's there, he says the right things. He's a support to Cobb. Some parts of support Cobb are support roles, and he fills it with life.
Yeah, you
I
don't
think he
think
does.
that when you watch it at
No,
all.
he's
No.
really
He's
inhabits
full of
it.
life.
He
yeah.
makes it. There's a little spark about his eyes that there are no small parts. It's
Yeah.
that thing, but he proves that there. It could have been a sort of forgettable part. And you were always very keen to cast him right from the start, weren't you, Alice?
I just think he's
Did you
a
know
really
him from something else?
No, Skins, just from Skins,
Right.
and had fallen in love with an episode that he did when it was, the way that they follow one character, and it was Chris's episode in
When he was
series
alive.
1. And I just think I thought he was just had that spark of brilliance, which I think you can pick up on, can't you?
Yeah,
and he is
absolutely.
genuinely that kind of actor. He's a great actor and will go far. Mark my word.
Yeah, I think so.
He's a great actor. But I mean, and the same with Georgia. And I think part of my job is talent spotting.
Yes.
And and that's when we sit down with Phil and everybody and we say who we
Absolutely.
love. I think you spotted Georgia as a talent, and we're absolutely right about her. And these actors are just going to go on and conquer.
That's
the screen,
one of the
really.
joys of the job, actually.
It
Not
is.
just young ones, people, older actors who...
all round, really.
It's, we've had a few come through Doctor Who, though, haven't we? That you kind of think, they're going to be...
Oh, brilliant.
But
Yeah.
the
And I
Colin-
think George is absolutely there.
Well, Carey Mulligan.
Carey Mulligan,
I think
Harry Lloyd.
Harry
Of course,
Lloyd,
you've yet to see
amazing
Alice. You
performance.
cast Colin Morgan in
Oh, he's
episode
brilliant.
Oh,
10
Colin
coming
Morgan's
up.
another one.
Who's now
Fantastic.
the lead role in Merlin.
He
He's Merlin.
is. I have.
But you could
I
tell,
heard
you could
that.
tell,
Yeah.
you haven't seen this yet, faithful viewer, but in episode 10, Colin Morgan plays
Jethro.
Jethro, and even on set, the choices, the decisions
Yeah.
Just
he
brilliant.
played,
Yeah.
But also was
potentially-
watching you. Russell and I picked up on this because he was watching how you got into the role. Because
Yeah.
it was only his second television performance, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
And as you watched the rushes, he'd start to do the same kind of warm up before the take would go, as in kind of like
Yeah.
pick himself up and get the energy
And
going.
he actually, bless
so-
him, he did an interview with the stage recently where he said how much he'd learned watching you on set. Said it out loud. Write that down as well.
The boy's a genius.
Does that make you feel past it, David, now that you're just
does,
an
James.
inspiration for the next generation
I
of
used to
great
give
actors?
interviews like that. But no, I think it's. I love the fact that so many, and I think Georgia and I think Joe are two this year. Felicity Jones next week is another
Yes,
one.
wow, brilliant actress.
Gugu and Bataraw from who we saw a lot last year. I think these
Prima
are-
herself when she
Prima
started.
herself,
It's,
exactly.
Yeah.
Billy.
And it's. I love the fact. Well, you do begin to feel a bit of an elder statesman. You think, I'm getting to work with all these actors, and in 10 years' time, they're going to be ruling the place.
But I think it's funny because, like, with Andy Pryor, our casting director, people always talk about our guest casting, and it's lovely guest casting, and but Andy never gets enough credit for the young talent that you
But
put in
brilliant.
major roles.
I think when you look back on these DVDs, say in 12 years' time,
Yeah.
you go, Georgia Moffat
they
was
were
the
in
huge.
that,
I
yeah.
can't believe Georgia Moffat did
Yeah,
that. She's so huge now.
when she was
Absolutely.
blonde.
Yeah.
But it's true, and not enough credit.
Well, that's
Hooray.
part of the joy of it, isn't it? Because you're giving somebody a role in a show that they are going to be excited by. Like Joe was excited to come and join it because, it's fantastic. And
Freema came into audition with the smallest of parts. It was
Yeah,
like,
Torture, didn't she come for
Adiola,
Torture?
and
Right.
there was a character who was cut later, but a character called Esme from Rise of the Cybermen. She auditioned for that, and you just thought she's got something.
Yeah.
She's really quite special, and it's brilliant to. You worry about who you miss as well. That's the funny thing. You could be watching
Sure.
someone. It's awful watching audition tapes. You think, if I'm in a bad mood, or I've got to fast forward because I've got a meeting, you think, God, what am I missing? Scary.
there's loads of filters, aren't there? And it is a kind of team consensus of everybody saying...
That's why it
"Oh,
helps
yeah,
having four of us watching it.
saying that's
actually.
brilliant, yeah.
Yeah.
But great, that next to all that, you've got Nigel Terry, who's
I know.
this glorious
Wonderful.
I know.
actor, who's not brand new, but who brings with him all this gravity and experience.
Oh, absolutely. He was my idea because he'd just done Casualty. Do you remember? He'd just
Yep,
been a
yep, the
vivisection
relaunching of-
bomber in Casualty. And I went,
Relaunching of Casualty.
that's Cobb for you. Great episode, wasn't it? Yeah.
I knew him from Derek Jarman's Caravaggio. Bless, I think it's
Right.
Derek Jarman. But
Course.
how
Well, Excalibur
amazing.
was another big film that he
Excalibur,
yeah.
brilliant. Yes, everybody's talking about that one too.
and when I was brand new, first job at the National Theatre, he was one of the old.
Oh, that's right. You'd
hands in
worked
the-
with him before, hadn't you?
Well, we hadn't worked together, but we'd both been in the company at the same
Oh,
time.
I see, okay,
And I
so-
remember a few times in the bar afterwards, I'd sit around a table with Nigel Terry listening to tales of great acting
brilliant.
tales. It was great to see him again.
Now, this sequence is... It's like one of the first things to be written, wasn't it? Is that when we're discussing the Doctor's daughter and the fact she'd be a soldier and she'd be physically brilliant, we just said there's got to be a scene where she flips through all the laser beams. Because I just love that sort of thing, like Britney Spears in the Toxic video.
I
Yeah,
love these guns. This is a sort of gun we've not had before. They actually did fire little gas flames, didn't they?
they did. And
Yes.
in fact, kind of...
I don't know. I worry about them slightly.
Oh, do you not like them?
Are they? I mean, are they feeble? I don't know. But then again, it's a sort of war of attrition, I suppose. And
Feeble?
Do you know what I mean? It's like I wish there was a bit more to them.
Oh.
Do you know there? It's like, is that really shooting?
I suppose I liked it because they're visual. And they're
Yeah,
not just an empty
no.
barrel to kind of, when you point the camera, there's something happening.
It's
Absolutely.
more believable than putting on a laser blast, I suspect.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, I'll shut up then. All
I
right,
love
then,
this
Miles.
bit. This is the decision moment, the kind of
Child
nature,
of the machine.
nature versus nurture, isn't it? Sort of.
So the doctor's getting through to her.
Yep.
You wanted
But
me to
it's-
dub on a line there.
I did not. They keep telling
The
saying that.
dubbing script said, a director's request. Look, it's poison
You had
gas.
said they're going to need.
No.
You had said they were going to need to all cough and go like that. And so that was why.
I do think that
Maligned.
happens a bit. Doctor Who is such a big machine that
Yes.
often, if you're
Blame
you
the
do-
director.
you do often blame the
Chinese
director or
whispers,
blame
they
Russell.
do.
I think that happens. So how many times a day I'm told, "Oh no, Russell really wants that," and you think,
Oh,
"No, he
You know, I
doesn't."
bet you are. I know.
I know I am.
Russell
And
really
then I'll say
said.
things like, "Tell you what, I'm going to do it this week. Get Russell to call me if he's got a problem with it." You never get a phone call.
And
funnily enough.
I know, I'm sitting there going, what the hell? Love that sequence.
Brilliant.
Love it. Phil worried a lot about that sequence, didn't he? Because he thought
it just had to be worked out. I mean, like
he didn't quite believe the finished visual effect, but I do. He thinks she clearly is tossing through beams that must go through her, but I believe it completely. I just buy it. He phoned up from the online, very worried, saying, and sent us tapes of it, saying
Does this work?
he didn't quite believe it. I think it's fantastic. I said, "You're mad."
I think, to be fair, he thought that the first time, and then when he saw it again, he sort of went. I think it was kind of hypersensitive to it, and then
It was
over
the
kind
final
of,
days of the Empire
It
when he
was,
was
yes.
going insane, frankly.
Yeah.
Oh, this is
clinging
like
on to
alien.
his power.
I was most worried about this.
Were you?
Finding a location
Oh.
for an alien planet surface.
That's a little bit different.
That
Where
just-
were you?
In a quarry. It wasn't really a quarry. It was a quarry.
Oh, look at that! Middle of the night in a big puddle.
In a big puddle.
Freema should be doing this podcast.
She was so brilliant. It was
She didn't
such a
complain at all,
trooper.
did she?
No,
Yeah.
she was absolutely. I mean, we have got Doctor Who Confidential filming this as well, and she was just such a trooper, and she was freezing. I mean, the water is heated.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Heated water?
Well, eat it for the first 2 minutes,
No,
and then
it stayed warm. We made sure of that.
Oh, all sympathy I was giving her has evaporated.
she's in a jacuzzi.
She's in a jacuzzi. She's having a real old time. It's probably warmer in the water than out.
Well, it was -4 outside, so
Well, then it
the
almost certainly
contrast.
was.
There, when she
Yeah.
gets out there, look, this here,
Oh, dear.
torture.
Can I just say,
Torture.
this is one of my favourite things of like, I could do a 1,000-hour podcast about the scripting process and the different processes you go through and the different things you add to a script, and we do end up with a creature that breathes water drowning.
Well, that's because it's melded a big tub of night nurse to the front of his face. I can't breathe through that.
I'm not quite sure how that worked, I've got to be honest.
Do you want to
But
linger
it's
on that
brilliant.
point, or do you want to move
We,
swiftly
move
on?
on. We did add that very loud smash of the glass.
We did.
So it's now
It's the
breathing.
pressure.
It's now breathing quicksand. So it's dead.
Yeah,
But
and it's being sucked into the bowels of
that
the
was a last-minute panic in the dub, going, "How did a water-breathing creature drown?"
Yes.
Well,
I love
not
it.
necessarily. Well, I suppose it.
Don't move on.
probably
Move on.
Yeah.
Nice,
Anyway, here we
marvellous.
are.
Good, good.
In
not Stephen's fault at all. Can I say? We're the ones going. It's got to be quicksand. Remember,
did.
rocks were going to
Yeah,
fall
we
on them.
did.
And
was it Paul Casey or was it Rory Mears in that Hath outfit?
That was. Oh gosh, I don't want to get that wrong.
It was
actually.
more. Rory did more than Paul in this one.
He did
if memory
because
serves.
no, that was Paul Casey.
That was Paul Casey, though.
Because Paul Casey dies as has Peck, I think, is known in the script.
Rory Mears and Paul Casey, for anyone who doesn't know, are the two sort of head monsters.
Monster
really.
men.
Yeah.
Marvellous.
They're currently with us shooting the Christmas 08 special, in fact.
Oh, are they? And they were in the first episode, which I saw, of course. And Rory was in
the first episode
and
with
without
Foster's
a mask
guards.
on.
Without
First
a latex
time I've seen him
mask,
without a
yeah,
mask.
one of Miss Foster's
Oh,
guards.
he's been a kung fu monk
Yeah.
without
Has
a
he?
mask.
Oh,
Rory's
okay,
appeared without a
yeah.
mask more than Paul. I don't think Paul's ever appeared without a mask, actually.
No, we should
Paul is
rectify that.
Yes,
Paul
we
is
should.
Paul is a real expert at that kind of.
Amazing. They're
that's
both
brilliant.
brilliant.
That
They
kind
bring
of
so
movement
much energy and yeah.
Paul plays. You'll have seen Paul in many things, actually, wearing various masks. Not just
He was a
Doctor Who.
Slitheen in one of my Sarah Jane episodes.
Right. He's also in a series of television commercials playing a fox.
Is he?
Yes.
But we won't go into
Is
that
he
because this
now?
is the BBC. He does a lot of things like that. He manages to animate the least animated lump of rubber sometimes.
so
He's
clever.
incredible. Yeah.
Very clever.
He gives very good ood.
And also, he's so tireless.
Yeah.
Just yesterday, I was shooting a scene with him in a very heavy, very cumbersome costume, up and down a flight of stairs,
Oh, yeah.
doing I won't
A
give it
fight?
away.
Oh, no.
A fight. You'll learn the details later. And when they took his head off, I've never seen a man so pink.
Really? Yeah.
But he doesn't
complain.
even think of complaining
No.
or asking for a break.
Oh,
He's absolutely tireless.
He's a hero.
And there's a nice little bit of information. That Hath was called Peck. I don't think we ever get that across on screen. In the script, it's called...
I think Martha still says. I might be wrong. They
She
might
does.
take it out. I think
does she
still.
say?
She does go Peck.
Oh.
And how does she
I'm gonna
know that's
see-
his
I
name?
know.
Has he got a badge on?
because she's
That'll
understanding them.
be the translation circuit's getting
It's
just
stronger
kicking in.
and stronger.
Yeah.
And I know, because the other Hath...
Look over there.
Leader of the Hath was called Gable.
Yes, and we never know that.
Yes,
No.
first name
But I
Clark.
remember saying to Steve, why do you call them Gable and Peck? No, and it's like you got them from old movies. It is Clark
Sure.
Gable and Gregory Peck.
No, is it? I didn't know that.
That's where he got them from.
But they weren't available, so we got Paul Casey and Ronan Mears.
Because originally, do you remember the humans were called... What were the humans called?
They were called Tracken.
Tackrans.
Tackrans.
And no
right, they
one could
weren't
say
humans.
it. No. And it was...
They
no
were-
one could say Tackran. Everyone got it wrong, and everyone got confused between the Tackran and the Hath.
And the Tracken, the keeper of Tracken, isn't
Oh,
it? As
God,
well, so I
yes.
got confused with that.
Tracken. But in the end, we just sort of said, oh, look, they're humans. Let's just call them humans.
We
It's
did.
going to drive us
You did.
mad.
This was a
God,
tiny
yes.
bit of set, and it doesn't. You don't notice that at all.
No.
A tiny bit of flat that we. Remember this, Alice? It was
Oh
all
gosh, I
quite-
do. It was in Mamelid, which you know.
What's Mamilid? That's a...
It's an industrial
Faithful viewer.
estate. Where David, you know how much have you shot there? I mean,
Quite
just...
a lot.
Oh, it's been the Valiant,
It's been the-
hasn't it?
It's been the
And-
Valiant. It's been the bells of the Titanic. It's been. It's been everything, hasn't
Yeah.
Done us proud.
it?
Doctor Who used to be filmed in quarries. Now it's filmed in Mamilid
Yeah.
all the time.
But it is quite an extraordinary building. It's an old, I don't know what they used to make there, bottling plant or something, and it's just
sure.
cavernous
Yeah.
spaces that can be adapted to anything.
It's just great. As
Well, it is fantastic, but it's really cold and really unpleasant.
nice shot there from the mill. Thank you, Mill. And I love the fact they haven't made this spaceship too fancy there. You know, it's like it's real. It matches the factory. It's just
We are now getting close to the crunch where everything's explained, aren't we? Isn't it?
yes, in which everything is explained at length by you
Yeah.
with tons of dialogue.
But even as we were filming it, we were all still slightly unpacking.
Oh, you
it,
felt
weren't
me up
we?
about that,
ringing
didn't you?
at you,
Yeah.
Russell.
Yeah.
What was the thing?
It
It's
was
the
because
dates went
it's
out.
the dates. The dates are the idea that when the drones completed a section, they stamped the date on it,
Yes.
which means that as we approach the centre, the date would be earlier.
Yes.
But it's important that the date is today's date,
Yes.
and so therefore the calendar we're about to look at is an LED board.
Yeah.
So the idea being that that's today's date
Yes.
rather than a finished date.
A finished
Oh, yeah,
date.
absolutely.
that was
and,
it.
and it was establishing.
And that just wasn't
was
quite clear in the
It
dialogue,
didn't
was
have
it? It
today's
was,
No.
date. We changed Catherine's line on the set, I think. And
I think
she
we
said,
pointed to go, and that must be today's
Today's date.
Yes.
Yeah.
which therefore makes sense of everything else.
And
Yeah.
there was dialogue going this date and that date that simply wasn't quite clear
It was
about.
just, yeah. I mean,
Naturally so. It's just, yeah.
because it's quite a complicated idea to get over quite quickly, isn't it? Well, it's a complicated idea, but it's it's the crux of the whole thing.
it's a
Isn't it?
neat idea, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's a lovely idea. It was just in this one moment making sure we were kind of.
just one little word out of place.
Yeah,
Was
yeah.
There was a specific word. I wish I could. It's probably gone now.
I
so
think we
just
put in the word today.
We did.
Right,
I think
yeah.
we did.
Today.
We said
we pointed
this is
and said today's
date.
date.
We did.
Yeah.
Or Catherine points and says
Catherine
today's
does,
date.
yeah.
And I get phoned up. I'm there in Tesco's, like, you know, buying sausage and mash and going, yeah, and I'm going, yeah, I got the script in front of me here. Like, yeah. As if. And I go, oh, yeah. Graham Harper always does that. He always phones up and he goes, on the set, he goes, Russell, scene 36. I'm going, what the hell is scene 36? It's like, Graham, will you explain to me what's happening in the scene? I'll tell you what it's about. Bless him. The man can do no wrong. Yeah, it is 7 days. The 7 Day War. It's funny because you would have called this episode the 7 Day War in a way, which would have slightly blown the surprise. But it's my subtitle for it.
It's great that it's called. I was watching that we're obviously doing this, faithful listener, a few weeks prior to transmission. We're recording this, and my sister's down with me at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
And I got in last night, and a DVD of this had arrived. I thought I better watch it before we have to speak about it. I hadn't seen this before last night, and I said to my sister, "Listen, you'll go a little bit out of sequence here if you watch this with me." But she was quite up for it. She didn't know anything about it.
Oh.
And when Georgia steps out of the machine at the start and says,
Oh, perfect.
and I say it's my daughter, she squealed with delight.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. It's great to watch with people who got no idea.
And she loved the bit with the cartwheeling through the laser beams.
And the 7 Day War, did that work?
Do you know, I should have asked her if we just
Oh,
watched that bit
she was asleep
in
by that
rapt
stage.
silence. So I'm
Snoring.
presuming that means she got it.
Yeah.
She's sitting there going, every time I come
And
to
the
Cardiff,
end.
I have to watch Doctor Who.
No,
Can
she's
he,
a big.
can he take me out?
She's a big fan, my sister. She was
Quite right,
she was very keen to watch.
Look at this. Can I say Phil Collinson's greatest decision ever?
It was a brilliant idea.
This is written as another part of the factory.
It was just a
room. It was called the
Really?
Source Chamber, and we sat in the tone meeting going, "Well, it's just another bit of the factory. And can you put that on a plinth?" And it simply wasn't working. And
It wasn't.
You weren't happy with any
We
of the
just couldn't
spaces
find
they
a
found.
design. Ed couldn't find somewhere that he thought would really encompass it.
And it was Phil who phoned me up and said, "What if we went to like not a conservatory? What's the word? But like a greenhouse."
Yeah.
And it's full of, and
Lush, full of
again,
rough plants.
talk about location. Then we went back to Stephen, and he wrote that into the script. And I think it's a fantastic decision. It just
It's the whole thing.
It brings the conclusion into this other world.
Yeah.
This would have been just another factory corridor
Makes it feel like a quest. That quest idea coming from the
Yeah.
bowels of the earth up into this sort of
into the light. It's
verdant-
what it's all about.
yeah.
The source and the light.
Brilliant.
Because we talked about building this, didn't we?
We did, and it was just not possible. And
It's the
but also
Swansea
the-
Plantasia.
It is. It's the Swansea.
Which I'm sure you can visit. It's open to the public every day.
It is.
This was our last day of shooting before Christmas as well.
Christmas.
Other plantasias are available.
Other Plantasias are available, but not in Swansea.
2:00 in the morning. This was. I think
This was
something like that.
it was a tough day to get all
It
this in,
was
wasn't it?
tough.
We only had one day in this location, and you
nightmare.
wanted to obviously shoot it.
Because of the windows, it had to be night.
One of the
That's right.
half.
That's
it was
right.
because the outside of the planet is desolate, so you couldn't have daytime streaming in.
We couldn't.
But
and
that
so it had
forced
to
a
be
night shoot on
it
you.
did.
There's
But
a
it looked beautiful.
Oh, it looked
I mean,
fantastic. There's a huge-
Ernie's lighting here, I think, it just and also the matte paintings that the mill have put in
Yeah.
just link it
The
all
fish in the
together.
pool, I love.
A huge fish in the pool, yeah.
They are the ancestors of the half. Everybody.
There was a lot of people were very worried that people were about to fall in the.
They did.
You
big
really had
pond.
to do about 8 pages or something, didn't you, with
Or
this?
it was a big
It was
one.
a big one. And
Normally
I
you
think
try
there
and
was
do 4 to 5 pages.
Yes,
was
there were a
it?
couple of pickups done later. I think the close-ups on Frida
Yeah.
and
That was
Catherine,
done later, the smashing of the glass,
Oh, that
so
was
that we
done
didn't have
later.
to reset it.
just with a pot plant on the
With
left
a
of the screen.
frond
Yeah.
poking in. Nice extras acting there, staring at invisible gas, bless them.
There's also a little bit to the side here where they keep sort of exotic animals.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Between takes, Catherine
Catherine
and I
had
got
a
to
tarantula.
play with a tarantula,
Really?
which loved Catherine. It sat on her hand calmly for about 5 minutes, and then it crawled onto mine and went mental.
Did it
I
really?
was obviously giving off the wrong vibes.
What, did it
All the
start
right
crawling
vibes.
up to you or something?
No, it started sort of trying to jump and get all frisky, and they
maybe
were like,
that's-
"Quick, put it back in the thing, put it back in the
no,
thing."
really?
And only when we put it back were we told that, they can get quite dangerous. Apparently, they
No
fire
way.
little things at you. They fire bits,
Darts, like a Slitheen? Like Margaret
yes,
Slitheen?
little hairs. They can fire.
Really?
at
Yes,
you.
because they've got real up.
And after we put it back, the woman went, "Yeah, you're not really supposed to handle them. You're not really supposed to handle them." And I thought, seeing as you were here,
Have you seen what you just talked over?
Sorry.
Judge Moffat was just shot. We're talking about
Moffat was just
tarantulas.
shot.
How funny. Swansea has got a wildlife corridor, I'll have you know. I'll leave you with that thought. Yes, yes. Fascinating. And downhill. It's beautiful. Anyway, look, sadness.
Death.
much sadness. Yeah, and
Beautiful. Beautiful performances. Bless the both of you. And you had to do that on your 8 pages. That's all in Plantasia. On 8, that's a big scene.
Credit to the actors, David, Georgia. I mean, having to do that. I mean, we got to it quite late as well, and it was because there was so much going on in it. But no, I mean, remember Phil and I were just delighted with it. We just finished on a real high after shooting here. Because it was hard and it wasn't much time, but we didn't need much time because I think that was the first take. That's one of my favourite shots. You can see the scar on your
scar on the
hand
hand,
and I just think that's a brilliant.
Oh, I'd
tableau
never
shot.
realised that before.
Yeah,
of
and
course.
it's that
that's
whole
why we did
link.
it.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Oh, that's so clever. Yeah.
Oh, and
Well, I'd seen it, but I hadn't thought about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're not
Yeah,
meant
it's
to.
there.
It's just
It's there.
there.
Wow.
It's just that sort of,
Oh.
and it's beautiful. And I think we did 2 takes or something. We didn't go over and over it. It was all there, very, very quickly.
Oh, the Doctor's life. Will he ever be happy?
can't hang on to
Ah,
it
but
anymore.
now, this is what I love about this scene.
I
When your
know.
brow furrows there, and then there's this change.
Great, this moment. Because, I remember sort of thinking, there's an element to which, we've seen the Doctor do this before with the Master.
Yeah.
But the anger that it becomes new now when... I think it's shocking, that image of you picking up the gun. And I actually think you actually look a little bit awkward picking up the gun, because I read it as awkward because it's so wrong
Yeah.
for the Doctor, and I think it's
That was quite a last minute.
very last minute.
rewrite
Yes,
as well.
yes,
One
those
of
were
the
the
last drafts, yeah.
big pages, I think. It was like...
And yet
Because it
seems
needed
so-
something else.
Yeah.
It was, bless Georgia and bless this performance. It's all wonderful. We've been here before, and it just needed more.
to make this feel like a new emotional moment, it has to take the Doctor somewhere we haven't seen him go before.
But also,
Otherwise,
he's always a saint. He forgave the Master. And there's got to be something that, even though he's never going to fire that gun, but I think you've got to believe. You do. I believe for a second he could. Here you go. It's just.
I think you do.
Wow.
I think you think he's going to do it.
I don't think he does. Yeah, I think this is as least forgiving as he gets, and I think that's right. Yeah.
I mean, it's wrong. It's
He's
so
just
wrong.
Angry now.
Look at their
He's
faces.
just had enough.
But then only the Doctor could spin that to take, a moment of revenge and to make it a mission statement for entire society. He's the most extraordinary character in the world. Who else could do that? It's a lesson. It's a judgment on them all. Do you remember in the original...
And they learn, and they move on, and they evolve, and he's had a direct...
In the original draft of the script, they then took Cobb off to be executed. That's great. Stephen, I think that spoiled the whole point.
What does happen to him now? He just gets put to work in the fields.
Maybe put in that cell that you were in earlier.
Yeah, well, he'll be punished because he murdered her, but equally they've all been murdering everyone for generations.
A new generation has come through, though, hasn't it? And it's a generation that have put their guns down.
I think he'd have a comfy cell because it's not to blame. Padded. Oh, look at your face there. How marvellous. The loss. But and then sunlight comes to Messeline. Oh, dear. We've all got quiet now.
I was actually thinking the T-shirt has regenerated.
Eh? That's a little... Oh, right, there's no bullet hole.
I had to ring Phil up and go...
I think we change her T-shirt to lay her out.
That's it, but
so
it's
that
just
she looks as serene and beautiful as possible.
Clearly those machines are also witty knitters that, knock out clothes.
Maybe it's reforming fabric.
Yeah. Very kind,
regenerative fabric.
Like Kathy Beale's old knitting machine in EastEnders. They work like that as well, round the back.
Yes. I just have a lot of those kind of T-shirts, and they're identical.
Doctor's hand bubbling away.
Love the hand. Off we go. Sad ending. And I love Martha choosing to go home after everything.
Yeah, I mean, she really wanted you to get that sense of her having moved on, haven't you?
We swapped those lines, though.
You did.
Yes, you did.
You did.
I offered to take Martha home because before it felt
said,
weird that in the middle of this moment she went, I want to go home now.
I want to go home now.
And we felt we had to soften that slightly.
These shots are reversed, aren't they? Because you were actually tracking in.
I did track in. And you said, I don't want you to track in.
That's lovely like that, though.
I sat in the edit and said, you're blinking mad.
You've done it wrong, you said.
You're going into someone when you're leaving them. A lovely Philip Kloss, who edited these episodes.
Marvellous
Philip.
Yeah. Genius Philip.
I worked with him before in Mine All Mine. I was dying to work with him.
No, and this is in all innocence. I hear those words of Donna when she says, how can I ever go back? And I think, that's poor there's something. Martha has moved on. It's like old assistant, new assistant.
Yes.
Sort of thing.
What you mean.
And Martha was like, I am ready to, and that kind of can't imagine never travelling with him. And she's moved on from that moment.
Oh.
Which I thought was lovely.
Donna
actually.
absolutely wants to travel with him forever.
Yeah. Maybe she will.
Absolutely.
But we've seen Martha in Torchwood, and we've sort of, followed her outside of the life. And it's great.
I love this street because it's quite shocking after tunnels and Messeline. And you're like, God, there's a normal street. It's quite a culture shock. Oh.
And she still obviously really loves him. Going all girly and gooey, but she can leave him.
And Martha's theme playing there, I love that. I love the last thing that Freema does. Actually, wasn't in the script.
No, it wasn't in the script. It was Freema's idea.
Brilliant.
That she looked at her engagement ring and realised that she had something to move on to.
Is he inside with a toaster?
Yeah, that's what I think. What you think? Waiting with her slippers.
Back to Tom.
Actually,
although you did cut my call me moment. As I walked away.
Would I cut it? I don't think I cut it.
I cut that because I thought it ruined the great separation.
I never managed to do it without giggling on the day anyway.
David actually walked away from that scene with a little... It was in the script. There was a little call me gesture. And he sat there going, well, it's hardly a great farewell if you say call me tomorrow. It's like she goes back to her boyfriend. But
she's back!
I'll have a natter with each other. She's back!
Jenny's up again.
Can I say, actually, when this was very first being discussed, this is Stephen Moffat's idea.
I love this.
I said, we're doing the Doctor's daughter, and of course she'll die. And he said, no, you should make her live. Absolutely right. Brilliant ending.
If there's a sequel begging to be made, it's the end of this episode.
Absolutely.
Spin off.
Sure, Stephen would love to write that with a beautiful blonde lady as well. But all fair dues to him, it's like, because you've seen these stories before and they die, and it's such a good idea to keep her alive.
No, it's lovely. And you don't know what will happen, where she'll go and where she'll...
Absolutely, and she'll go out and be
Well done to all involved.
Oh, this looks so exciting.
Sublime to the ridiculous. Here we go. What an episode.
Oh, I can't wait to see this. I haven't seen this yet, so I'm...
Great ensemble
Looks amazing.
cast. This is next week. This is Doctor Who meets Agatha Christie.
Indeed it is.
In a murder mystery country house mystery in
Wow.
1926 with a giant wasp. The one thing that's
Fabulous.
missing from Agatha Christie stories, I always think, is a giant wasp. And we finally had a chance to put it right. Very balmy episode. Great fun. That's next
Lovely.
week.
That's
Thank
next
you.
week.
Alice, you were brilliant on your first
Cheerio,
podcast.
marvellous.
It was a pleasure to work with you, Alice.
Yeah,
It really was.
Lovely to be here and
I hope you'll come back when you've had that lovely baby of yours.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, baby Gallifrey,
Yes.
due in June.
Who's also doing this commentary today.
Yeah,
Yes,
he's
there've
been
been
there.
Yeah.
Been
four
the
of us.
fourth member.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, faithful
Goodbye.
viewer.
See you next time.
Bye. Keep watching next week. Don't give up. Keep going. Thank you.